93.7 FM.
On the Fan, 680 and 93.7 FM. Jason Evans is here, film critic for the Wall Street Journal for many years, also works over at CNN and does the same. And where does this
nice music
theme rank all-time movie themes? John Williams' Star Wars theme, 40-something years in. I just watched Rocky with my 8-year-old the other night. Rocky 3. Rocky 1 I thought a little too slow for an 8-year-old to get pumped up, and Rocky 3 had enough moments.
Rocky 3 is a good one, yeah.
Yeah, you got the Hulk Hogan, you got the 2 fights, you got the 2 training scenes, everything else. So is that theme top 5 in history?
Absolutely.
It's a hard question to just throw you last minute.
I haven't come up with a list of the top themes of all time.
Is there any others that jump out? Raiders. Another John Williams.
Yeah, John Williams is absolutely classic. Yeah, he's one of the greatest of all time, for sure. I haven't thought about what the greatest.
I understand. I'm just saying.
Dude,
sometimes
like on the
I'm
spot.
in live radio. I'm in live radio here. I can't map out everything for you.
You're doing this to me 15 seconds in.
I know. So Jason Evans is here, and here's the deal. What's fascinating about Rise of Skywalker, the 9th movie in this series, and obviously there's so many of our listeners right now, you're thinking about the holidays. Great news for local independent film operators, and there's still some left, that the movies, it was a rainy weekend in Atlanta. I'm sure they were packed, and Star Wars came out. Yep. But the numbers on Star Wars, you just told it to me in the break, compared to the previous 2 films, and you're comparing it opening weekend to opening weekend, correct?
Right, of course, because, it'd be silly to compare anything else, but opening weekend, that's the data that we have so far, and it looks
Which
like
sets the tone for the whole run.
Exactly, and it looks like Rise of Skywalker did right around 175 million for the opening weekend. We don't have final figures.
Is that worldwide? Is that what that is?
No, that's U.S. domestic.
Okay.
Worldwide was like in the 370s.
Okay, whatever. Just go domestic.
Domestic.
Apples to apples.
Yeah, did about 175. That's $50 million less than The Last Jedi did. $75 million less than The Force Awakens. As Star Wars movies go.
So you're telling me 2 movies ago, they did 250 opening weekend, and we only did 175 this weekend?
It was 247 point something.
So you could
round it.
So you could actually get tickets for this film.
Oh, I have friends who say they went and saw it, and the theater was a third full.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm completely serious.
All right, so why did that happen? What is it? Star Wars fatigue? I
don't think so. I don't think it was Star Wars fatigue. I think it was that word had filtered out from critics who had seen the early screenings that the plot of this film just isn't that great.
My wife is going to be so upset with you.
I'm sorry.
She's a Star Wars fan.
I'm here to speak truth.
She was there Friday. She went with her best girlfriend and all our kids. I chose something else that afternoon, but they loved it.
You chose wisely.
So tell me why you're down on the film and why so many Star Wars fans loved it, said it delivered what they asked for.
Right. So let's be really clear. As a film critic, as someone who loves the movie industry, I'm thrilled that there are people who like this film. It's an important movie. It's the culmination
it's the end of 40-something year run.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that people like it. But that doesn't mean that from a critical standpoint, from the standpoint of crafting a good story.
So what was your issue with it?
J.J. Abrams did a terrible job of crafting the story.
Oh, my God.
It's just not, the plot doesn't make any sense.
It's not linear, doesn't come together clearly.
I got to jump in. I've been sitting here trying to listen.
Go.
Because I am a Star Wars fanboy.
As am I.
And I do have a film degree as well. What specifically did you not? Because look, the film opened to the 17th highest worldwide box office weekend.
But apples to apples.
That's awful, though. For a Star Wars film, 17th highest?
But you can't.
Terrible.
But the whole reason it opened that way is because of the vitriol towards The Last Jedi.
Guys like,
the last film.
The Last Jedi,
I don't
which
think
was
people
a way
say,
better film.
Oh, gosh.
Way better film.
I don't think people say to themselves, I see what this critic says, so I'm not going to go see the movie. They didn't know if the movie was good or not, right? I mean,
it was so early on. You're putting a lot into the notion that Scuttlebutt came back. It wasn't great. As opposed to the 8th film being a huge disappointment.
Some of it may have been that. That's entirely possible. I'll tell you why this film is bad. And this is not a spoiler. This is in every single trailer.
Okay, go ahead.
In the opening crawl of the film, the very first second of the movie that you're watching the film, it says, "The dead have risen, Emperor Palpatine is alive." That's the way J.J. Abrams treated his story. He just goes, I need the Emperor to be... Let's not forget, the Emperor died in film number 6. He fell down a huge...
Never saw him dead.
He fell down this thing.
Keep going. I'm just messing.
He fell down this thing into a nuclear reactor. There's a huge explosion. He's dead. He's gone. We haven't heard from him for 30 plus years. And J.J. Abrams just went, you know what? I need him to be alive. So he's alive. I'll just write it in the copy at the very beginning of the film. There's no explanation given for why. No explanation for what he's been doing for the past 30 years. Nothing.
So what I heard,
it's just whenever they need something in this film, whenever they want something, it magically appears at their feet.
A lot of Star Wars fans saying it ended just the way it did. They wrapped up all the storylines I needed. I'm just telling you. Let's move on. What's out there that will be a great watch, right?
So I'm here early on this one. In the next 2 weeks or so, there's a film called 1917 that's going to open in theaters. People, go see this movie. It is a World War I film about troops in the trenches, and the film. What they have to do is they got to get across no man's land to warn another group of soldiers not to attack because they're falling into a trap. The whole film is shot like it's one take. There's a single camera, and the whole thing is shot in real time and feels like it is one continuous shot. It's one of the best cinematic achievements you will ever see. My jaw was agape at times at the way they shot this film.
1917 going to be
It's called 1917. The cinematographer is a guy named Roger Deakins, is the greatest cinematographer of all time. 14 Oscar nominations. Go see this because it is the most beautiful and captivating film of the year.
All right, let's keep moving. Richard Jewell not doing well right out of Atlanta, right? Filmed here.
Yeah, no, it's just I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Did $3 million in its opening weekend.
Yeah, not good.
Disaster
not good.
for Clint Eastwood.
Right.
Feel bad for all the folks that filmed here who are supposed to be great. Kathy Bates and John Hamm and Clint Eastwood. And
the acting is supposedly very good, but people aren't connecting to the story.
All right, Marriage Story nominated for the most Golden Globes. Sandra didn't like it because she thought it was depressing. I dug it.
It is really depressing.
I like depressing.
Here's the thing about Marriage Story. I think they titled it wrong. It should have been called Divorce Story.
Which they did intentionally because they thought nobody would go.
Right.
They called it.
Right. And no one will enjoy it. In this film, usually in a film, you see people fall in love. In this film, they start in love. Literally, the opening of the scene is them in love, and then we spend the rest of the film watching them fall into hate.
All right.
And it's really tough to watch.
Where do you put Irishman against the other Scorsese films over the years?
I mean, it's a very, very good film. It's too long. There was someone who said The Irishman is Goodfellas, but with all the extra conversations in cars added back in. It's too long. It shouldn't be 3.5 hours, but I think Netflix told Scorsese, do whatever you want. And that's what he did. But it's still a great
What's your favorite movie of the holidays? Give me two or three. Give me a couple of movies worth seeing.
Knives Out. Absolutely Knives Out. I think one of the best casts around.
What was that accent that Daniel Craig? What was he?
It was a Louisiana kind of thing he was doing. Yeah, he was a bayou boy.
I thought it was a fun movie, not a great movie. Sorry.
The cast is fabulous. Rian Johnson, who wrote and directed that film, also did The Last Jedi, loves to take what you expect and turn it on its head.
Yeah.
Like, he likes to subvert your expectations. Everyone thinks they're coming in for an Agatha Christie murder mystery.
A whodunit.
A whodunit. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but he doesn't do what you would expect him to do.
Anything else out there now in terms of films?
Little Women, I think, opens in the next few days on Christmas Day. Little Women is really a wonderful. It's not even an adaptation of that story. It's more a continuation of that story. Beautiful period piece. Really, really, really well acted.
A bunch of dudes listening. They're
why am I talking about Little Women?
I was going to say
Ford versus Ferrari. Go see Ford. If it's still in theaters, Ford versus Ferrari, fabulous.
All right, real quick. Why are all the number one teams? By the way, it's at Jason Duke Evans.
Yes,
he's got the number one Duke basketball podcast in America.
Yep.
Huge Dookie, but huge college basketball fan. Give me about 60 seconds. Where are all the great college basketball teams this year? Because number one has not stuck at all. Kansas, Duke, Ohio State, Kentucky, all of them have gone down.
Yeah, Michigan State, we could go on and on with the list. Gonzaga is going to be the next number one. They'll be there for a while, I think, because they don't play. They've gotten through the tough part of their schedule. We've had 6 number one teams in 8 different weeks. It's because this year there are no great teams, and the gap between the really good teams and the average teams is so much smaller than it's been in the past.
Which is why Evansville's beating Kentucky, why Stephen Austin's beating Duke.
Yep.
And Nova over the weekend beat
Kansas. Villanova beat Kansas, yeah.
Outright.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing is going to happen throughout the year. Usually, most years when we get down to the tournament time, the teams that get number one seeds in the NCAA tournament are teams that have 3, 4, maybe 5 losses. This year, I guarantee it, we're going to see teams with 7, maybe even 8 losses really in there for the number one seed conversation because teams are just losing games that they wouldn't ordinarily because the gap between the great and the average is so much smaller.
Who are the best 3 players in college basketball?
The best 3 players in college basketball right now?
because we talked about LaMelo Ball is playing somewhere else. Anthony Edwards,
right? I mean,
could be a top pick.
NBA draft picks. One of the things I was talking about with you in the break. Unlike in past years, the top NBA draft picks are not playing for Duke and Kentucky and Kansas and schools like that.
Right.
They're playing for Georgia. They were playing for Memphis.
Yeah,
not
Wiseman's
anymore.
done. Yep.
They're playing in New Zealand. So there's more distribution of talent across the college basketball spectrum. And as a result of that, that's one of the reasons we don't have as many great teams.
How's Duke going to do?
This is the deepest Duke team Coach K has had maybe in 30 years.
You're such a homer.
No, I
mean, you're coming on here.
They're deep because they don't have.
You know who you are? You're a villain. You're bashing You're bashing Star Wars, and you're sucking up to Duke. And that, my friend, is not. That's not going to.
At least I hate the Yankees.
I guess so. Jason Evans at Jason Duke Evans. Great to see you. Hopefully, see you one more time over the holidays.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Thank you, my friend. The Falcon conversation is as fascinating as